Are you ready to take your personal brand to the next level? I have a very, very special guest today to take a deep dive into the secrets of building a personal brand that will make you a sought-after, recognized authority, maybe even a celebrity in your niche. Welcome to the Affiliate Guy podcast. If you want to grow your income, serve your tribe, and enjoy all the benefits of affiliate marketing and having your own affiliates, you're in the right place. Thanks for joining me today. Let's get started. So we're talking today about personal branding, building a personal brand, maybe even becoming a celebrity in your niche. And I get this question a lot, like, well, Matt, why do I need a personal brand? Why do I need a personal brand? Well, there's tons of reasons. Even if you're working, quite frankly, we're going to focus on the entrepreneurial side, running a business side, but even if you have a career, you work for a company, having a personal brand still is beneficial. It's a very competitive world. And one of the things that a personal brand, a really good personal brand helps you to do is stand out from the crowd, to differentiate yourself. That's super important. Building trust and credibility with your audience. That definitely is a big thing, a big benefit of a personal brand, the networking side of things, the connections, just being able to connect with people in your network and building an affiliate program. That's a part of it. Nobody wants to be an affiliate for somebody that doesn't have a brand. Now, yeah, this doesn't always apply. If, like when we worked with Adidas, there was no personal brand there. It was a company brand, but having a personal brand helps. And then the thought leadership side, when you are seen as the expert, you become that go-to authority. And you might only be like an expert because you have a podcast. And when people talk about affiliate marketing and affiliate programs, they come to me. Why? Because my personal brand is the affiliate guy. That's one of the big reasons. Now, yeah, certainly my experience and being in this industry for 18 years, working with over 300,000 affiliates, that helps. But one of the reasons why people even know about that is because of my personal brand. And then the last thing is just the personal development side of it. This is something that occurred to me over the past few years is how much I have grown as a byproduct of building a personal brand. The fact that I have to stay up to date with industry trends and I have to continually refine my skills, keep on learning and reflect, I have grown as a person. And so while I know a lot about personal branding and I talk about a lot in my book, Turn Your Passions into Profits, I wanted to speak with, in my opinion, the expert, the world's leading expert on personal brand. He's the guy behind some of the biggest personal brands, biggest book launches, all of these things. Rory Vaden. And I know Rory from a few different ways. I knew him as the personal discipline and kind of motivation guy. He has a book called Take the Stairs, which I freaking love. We talk a little bit about that in this talk today, but I knew him as that. I knew him as one of the top affiliates for some of our clients like Michael Hyatt, and I believe he promoted Ray Edwards and Jeff Goins. And I got to know him through that network. Again, the power of a personal brand. And then lately, I have been seeing this everywhere. I mean, I took a picture of it today. So let me think, Saturday, we're driving to my daughter's soccer game and I'm reading in her book. It's a sports psychology book for teens. And I'm reading in it and it says, success isn't owned, it is leased, and the rent is due every day. And it says, J.J. Watt. And I went, wait a minute, that's not who said that. I know who's. So I took a picture of the book and sent it to Rory. And I was like, dude, this is your quote. And he responded back and said, yeah, it's pretty common. He has a standard response. J.J. Watt said that it's like this quote I heard, and then it got attributed to him and like LeBron James and whatnot. And then today, my daughter's soccer, the indoor soccer facility, there it is again on the wall. Big, huge, a 1.5 foot tall letters. Success isn't owned, it is leased, and the rent is due every day. So that's how I know Rory is that quote, which is from the book, Take the Stairs. But now he's become a personal branding expert and worked with some just absolutely amazing people. He ran the book launch for Ed Milet and Lewis Howes. He's run personal branding campaigns for some of the best out there. So today, just get ready, buckle up, get ready to learn how to establish trust, how to differentiate yourself, how to become a sought-after authority. This episode, guys, we're going to show you how to unlock the power of personal branding, how to become, maybe even achieve that celebrity status in your field. This is going to transform the way that you approach your personal brand. So buckle up, get ready. Here's Rory. Rory, my friend, I am so glad to have you today, bud. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Matt. It's good to see you, man. Long time no see.
I know, man. It's been way too long. Oh my gosh. I am so excited to talk to you because, I said this in the intro, but we go back a long way. For one, I mean, way back to when you were basically almost in a completely different field. But what the cool thing I love about it is you're teaching now exactly what you did for yourself. And when you started doing it for yourself, you weren't really an expert at it. You learned from some people and you did just like we recommend, you pulled from probably 100 different people, the things that you liked, and you made up a few things on your own. And now today, I mean, when I think of personal branding experts and who's the go-to guy, if you want to build a personal brand, it's Rory Vaden. Like there's nobody else. And so I'm excited to talk about this today because I know people are going to get a ton out of this and maybe, hear a little bit of your story as we go along. So I'd love to get in like a little bit to that story just because like how in the heck did you get to this point where you're the guy that Ed Milet and Eric Thomas and gosh, the list goes on and on. I mean, Lewis Howes and so many others are going to like, these are people who already have a personal brand. They're still coming to you going, how do I get better at this? So when somebody does that, I'm like, I want to listen to this person. So how'd you get into this?
Yeah, well, for me, I was in sixth grade the first time that I saw a professional speaker. I remember I was in the gymnasium at Platt Middle School, PMS, which is a true story. I went to PMS for middle school, and this speaker walked in, and he was amazing, and he was inspiring, and he was funny, but he was telling this awful story about how his brother was murdered, and he was in jail, and everyone he knew got in trouble for drugs and all this sort of stuff. And basically, he was saying, hey, you should make good choices with your life. And I was like, wow, that really impacted me. And then when I was in high school, I was in student council, and we hired a guy to come speak for $1,000. And it blew my mind. I was like, what? You get $1,000 to come speak on a microphone for an hour? And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a speaker. But I had no idea how. I had no idea what's the path, what's the plan, how do you get to be on stages? And I joined a direct sales company. I became one of the top producers solely for the fact that I wanted to get invited to speak at the national meeting, which happened. And then I heard about a contest called the World Championship of Public Speaking that's put on by an organization called Toastmasters. And there's 25,000 people who compete from 90 countries for a chance to be called the world champion. And I thought, man, maybe if I won the world championship, then that would give me the credibility to launch a speaking career. And so I was 22 years old. I studied so hard. I went and spoke everywhere. And in 2006, I became the youngest person ever to make it to the world championship, which was the top 10 in the world, and I lost. And then in 2007, I got more coaching. I spoke 304 times for free. All in over these 2 years, I received over 2,200 written evaluations. I watched 1,100 hours of film, dozens of books, courses. And in 2007, I went back, and that was the year that I lost again, but I lost higher. I was the world champion of public speaking, first runner-up. So I was number 2 in the world. I was 23 years old. And from there, I had a couple friends, a friend that I had known from college, and we decided we were going to start a company putting on big conferences like motivational seminars. And so we knew something from sales because I had been going door to door for 14 hours a day, 6 days a week for 5 summers when I was in college. And so we started a sales training company from scratch. And then we ended up growing that to 200 coaches, sales coaches. It was an 8-figure business. We were putting on events with thousands of people in the room. I became a New York Times bestselling author when I was 29. Had a TED Talk go viral a couple years after that. So my first book, Take the Stairs, hit the New York Times. And then my second book, Procrastinate on Purpose, 5 Permissions to Multiply Your Time, was what my TED Talk was based on. The TED Talk goes viral. And then all of a sudden in 2018, so this is 12 years later, we sold the company very unexpectedly, very suddenly, overnight, and it was all gone. And so we had built all of this, and to the exact day, Lewis Howes called me, and I had been a guest on Lewis's show when Take the Stairs had come out, and I had just kind of helped him a little bit here and there with his first book launch, just as a friendly kind of pointing out some tips and stuff. And he said, I know we haven't talked in a while, but man, I really feel like I could use your brain on my business. We've grown a lot, but I'm overwhelmed. I'm pulled in a lot of directions. We're making multi-seven figures, but it doesn't feel like we're really scaling. And he said, would you help me? And so we had no plan, no frameworks, no idea to do this at all. Lewis came over. He spent a couple days with us. And after that, he said, this was one of the most powerful business experiences I've ever had. This is your new business. I know so many people who need this, and we're going to have you on the podcast to tell the whole world about it. And so Lewis became our first client. Now, you mentioned over the last 4 years, we've worked with Ed Milet and Amy Porterfield and Jasmine Starr and Peter Diamandis and Eric Thomas, E.T., the hip hop preacher, and all these people. And we became a personal brand strategy firm. We're about to hit 8 figures again. We should hit close to 8 figures this year, our 5th year in business. We've helped 13 clients become New York Times or Wall Street Journal bestselling authors. We've helped 5 clients grow their revenue more than 7 figures per year. And we have our 5th client who we've helped with a TED Talk that is just about to hit 1 million views and all this sort of stuff. And so we got into it really because Lewis Howes was the catalyst for the business. We never had a plan to do this. And we sort of unexpectedly sold one business and unexpectedly started this one. And most of our clients today, so we have about 600 active clients. We do one-on-one coaching exclusively, like one-on-one training and working with people. And we help people become more well-known. And we help mission-driven messengers specifically to become more well-known. And yeah, that's the whole story as fast as I could tell it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So that started in 2018 or 19?
2018 was when Brand Builders Group started. Yeah, in the middle.
So you kind of said it was unexpected, but you were 12 plus years in training.
Yeah.
That is the way I look at it. I've never done this before, but so you just told your story in about 5 minutes. You talk about who you help and who you work with. I know this also works. This doesn't just work with, Lewis Howes and E.T. And of course, anybody can help them is what I know what people are thinking. Guys, this has worked. What Roy just talked about, it's worked with people who have nowhere even near the credentials of them. They're maybe even just starting out. So do this. Go to freebrandcall.com/TAG for the affiliate guy. freebrandcall.com/TAG. Talk to Roy's team and they'll tell you if they can't help you. If you're in one of those weird situations and they're like, yeah, we cannot help you. And they'll tell you, talk to them. Just talk to them. Normally, we wait till the end of the interview and then say, hey, Rory, where can people find? No, you just heard right there what he's done. We're going to give you some actionable stuff here, but go ahead, press pause, click the link in the show notes, freebrandcall.com/TAG. It'll take you 2 minutes, maybe on the high end to fill that form out, fill it out, then come back and listen. Okay. But you want to go ahead and just book that call or at least get it on your radar so you don't forget. Because I know how things are. You're going to finish the podcast episode. You're going, that was amazing. Life's going to get in the way. There's going to be some traffic, something like that. And then you're going to totally forget about it. So do it now while you're thinking about it. I want to highlight one other thing. You kind of glossed over because this is your story and you've told it a million times. And we forget about these little things. But you said 304 free speeches.
Yeah.
And I talk so often here about just getting in your reps. How do you get really good at webinars? You do webinars. I have a friend of mine, Alan Thomas. He's a weight loss coach. And he's like, Matt, I'll do them if 3 people show up. I'll do the webinar. And that's because I told him, do it. He did one the other day. He had 12 people registered, which means 3 people. He's like, nope, 2 people showed up. And I did it. Sold one of them. Just by the way, $7,000 sale. I'm like, I don't know about you, but spend an hour, make $7,000. That's not a bad trade,
Yeah.
And I know it's hard. You're putting in your reps and you're trying to, hey guys, so great to be here for all 2 of you. And it's hard to get the energy, but he put in his reps. And now as he's done this 100 times, he's actually pretty good at them. And he's doing much bigger audiences with hundreds of people. And the point there is you just put in your reps and your reps and your reps. And then eventually it just becomes maybe not easy, but it becomes pretty simple. And I love that, man. So don't gloss over that.
Thank you for that, Matt. I'll tell you this, the single best piece of personal brand strategy advice that I've ever received, and this isn't a Rory Vaden quote, I wish it was, but this comes from a gentleman named Larry Winget. Larry told me this early in my career. He said, the goal is to find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. So what we've done is we've developed a process that helps people find their uniqueness, to figure out what is the thing that they can do better than anyone else in the world? What is their uncopyable difference? What is the divine design of their humanity that we can access that then helps them break through all the noise? But to what you were saying about getting the reps in, a lot of times it's like people are driven by ambition, or they're driven by notoriety or fame, or like, I want to be whatever. But the real thing that never dies is the desire to serve. And when you center your life and your business around, there's a problem in the world that I want to solve for people. There is a specific type of person out there in the world that I want to help. When you orient the entire strategy around that, it never acquiesces, like it never grows dim, and you stay on fire. And you see that with Eric Thomas is a great example, right? Like you see, he still has so much fire today. Ed Milet has so much fire today.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. Those guys would have been successful with or without us. Specifically when it comes to book launches, we do that as good as anyone in the world. We have a really, really good formula for that. So we got the privilege to work with them, and they both sold over 100,000 copies of their book, like following the formula. But they have fire, right? Because they're not trying to make more money or just be more well-known. They're dedicated. They've dedicated their life to solving a problem. And that's sort of the genesis of how you find someone's uniqueness, is we say, what? And this is what most people can't even do this. And this is the first step, is answering one simple question with one word. What problem do you solve? And most people cannot answer such a simple question. What is the problem you solve? But the people who change the world dedicate their life to solving a problem. Mother Teresa dedicated her life to ridding the world of poverty. Martin Luther King Jr. dedicated his life to ridding the world of inequality. Dave Ramsey has built a 9-figure business for 30 years talking about one thing, debt. Brene Brown has become one of the most influential people in the world. She dedicated her life to solving the problem of shame. I built my career on solving the problem of procrastination. And so, you mentioned Take the Stairs, and all my early work was around helping people do things they didn't feel like doing. And now Brand Builders Group solves the problem of obscurity. People who are unclear, untrusted, and unknown, and we help them become more well-known. With Lewis's entire brand is oriented around helping people overcome self-doubt. That was a pivot that we made with him 4 years ago, where it took like 8 years to get to 30 million downloads. And in the last couple of years, he's gone from 30 million downloads to 500 million downloads. And it's because he never grows tired. He never grows weary. And it's because he's chasing something, doing something that is beyond money, and it is beyond fame, right? It's beyond income, and it's beyond influence. It's impact. And when we find somebody's uniqueness and we really tap into it, that's what it takes to break through the wall, to become at that level. And that's where the desire and the passion to do the reps comes from, right? It's not just sheer willpower or discipline. It's a calling.
Whew. I don't want to say anything. I just want to let you keep talking.
I keep talking.
Oh my gosh. I love that one word thing. Obviously, I spent a few seconds there thinking of that myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty cool exercise because there's two words. And I think, you know what? For our business, we got to get clear on which of those words it is.
Well, in our classic framework, so the entire Brand Builders Group experience is actually, like our whole curriculum is 14 different 2-day experiences, right? So we have them on the art of speaking, the business of speaking, writing books, doing book launches and selling books, podcasting, funnels, training your sales team, all these topics. But the first one is called Finding Your Brand DNA, which is where we help people find their uniqueness. And there's actually 2 single words that we look for with people. So one is the problem they solve, and the other one is their uniqueness. The uniqueness is also kind of like the one-word distillation of the answer to the problem. So I broke through the wall with Take the Stairs because the problem I solved and studied was procrastination.
Yeah.
And my solution or my answer was discipline. And so I studied those 2 things. That was my lens on the world, right? For Dave Ramsey, it would be debt and cash. Even though Dave is not a client, neither is Brene Brown. But you see the same thing with Brene Brown, shame and vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
There's the problem and then there's the solution. So when you go, how do I find my uniqueness? The whole experience takes about 2 days, but I'll share with everyone the shortcut because I know we don't have a ton of time. And we discovered this. We didn't know this when we started the company, but now 5 years into it, we've taken hundreds of people through this. And now we have a couple dozen strategists on our team that are constantly taking people through. And we started to notice this pattern that for all of us, there's a hint to what your uniqueness is. And the hint comes from understanding one simple insight, which is that you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. You're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were, for all of us, right? Every bit of pain that you have gone through has prepared you and shaped you into becoming the person that you needed to be one day so that you could reach back and help somebody else. And that's why it's like, if somebody is an aspiring author or a speaker, it's like, we can serve them in such a deep way, because I was inducted into the Speakers Hall of Fame when I was 37, and we've traveled the world and we've done these things, and now we've helped so many other people to do it. Now, technically, we don't just work with speakers, authors, coaches. We say our audience is mission-driven messengers. So it's anybody with a message, and they tend to be either experts or entrepreneurs, and they're using their personal brand either to get a direct message out, like they have some expertise, or they're just driving awareness back to their company, right? They're entrepreneurs. They're the face of the company driving something. But regardless of what the business model is, the uniqueness, the path to somebody's uniqueness is always the same. It's asking the question, what challenge have you conquered? What obstacle have you overcome? What setback have you survived? What tragedy have you triumphed over? Whatever that is, therein lies your uniqueness, the thing that you are uniquely equipped to solve and to help and support other people through. And if we can tap into that, there's not only deep expertise from you, but there is a powerful emotion that, again, we believe it actually transcends into the area of the divine to say, this is God's divine design of your humanity, that you were created for a reason and with a purpose, and that even the hardest things you've gone through in your life happened not because it had anything to do with you, but because they were shaping you to be one day in the service of others. And that is just uniqueness. And man, when you peg that, it's almost like the rest of it falls into place.
Whew. I just did something I don't think I've ever done when I've interviewed somebody for a podcast. I just texted my next call. So I'm going to be a little bit late. Because I'm in the middle of something so good that if you got a little bit extra time than we booked, if you don't, you can just nod your head no, but we might go a few minutes over if that's okay with you.
I got a couple minutes, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that because, gosh, this is so good. The mission-driven messengers, I think everybody knows their mission. And I think most people, especially, they go through the exercises in our book or if they just know, they kind of have an idea of who they want to help. They see the struggle and they go through this. But because you mentioned Mother Teresa. Yeah. And we go, okay, Mother Teresa helping, the sick and dying in India. And we go, we can't all be Mother Teresa. Somebody needs to help the person who helps the person who helps the person who funds Mother Teresa's mission.
Sure.
And I think a lot that I hear, and I'm curious to hear your take on this, is a lot of people just don't think that their mission or their expertise is that important or special. And I know I've shared the example of our client, Adam Lean, who's like, dude, I work with accountants. I'm talking about being a hero. And he's like, I work with accountants. How's that heroic? I was like, well, Adam, you told me that you save them 10 hours a week of work. How is that not heroic when you get to go to your kid, go ask the kid who gets 10 more hours with daddy. Ask the spouse who gets a weekly date night if what you do is heroic. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. That is heroic,
Amen.
But I'm curious to hear what somebody is just thinking, okay, what I'm doing, my mission it's not Mother Teresa. It's not Brene Brown level. It's a little bit more basic. I want to work with so-and-so or so-and-so. How do we get them to see that importance and then be able to kind of lean into what they're doing? It is mission critical for some people somewhere. How would you do that? I know that's a little bit of a generic example. Maybe how would you do? I'll use me for example. how like, if I get it, I already get it. But like, if I came to you 7, 8 years ago when I was like, Roy, dude, I only know one thing in the world better than anybody else. That's affiliate marketing and how to run affiliate programs. Like, you get me outside of those two lanes, man, I don't know anything. I'm a doofus. What does that mean? Like, where do we go with that?
Well, I think when we're trying to find somebody's uniqueness, we're actually listening to their calling. And I want to talk about you kind of touched on what's the magnitude, right? Of like, oh, well, I'm not Mother Teresa. I'm not changing the world. But you are changing the world for somebody.
Mm.
You are changing somebody's world. And we actually believe that the calling you feel on your heart is the result of a signal that's being sent out by somebody who needs you. And that person actually needs you more than you need them. It may be millions of people. It might be a couple dozen people, but it is a signal that's being sent out. And we call this the law of the frequency because like a lot of times small business owners, or early young messengers will say like, oh, well, I'm not Brene Brown. And why would I try? She's already done that. Or I can't do what Tony Robbins did. Like he already did that. Or there's already this expert or that expert. But the law of the frequency is best explained through like, think about a radio station. There could be two different radio stations playing the exact same song at the exact same time, but the person hearing it can only hear one of those stations at any one moment. And that's because the receiver of the message is tuned in to that particular frequency. There are people in the world who are tuned into a particular frequency, which is your frequency. They can't be reached by Tony Robbins. They can't be reached by Mel Robbins, right? They can't be reached by Brene Brown. They can be reached by you. Why? I don't know why. It's because they're tuned into that frequency. There's something about you that resonates with them. It might be the way you look. It might be the way you sound. It might be your age. It might be the certain way that you talk or frame things. But to that person, you are changing their world. And I think too often today, everyone is so concerned and so consumed about the width of their reach that they have forgotten about the depth of their impact. And all we're doing is chasing more followers, more email subscribers, more downloads. Like we're just chasing width of reach. And you go, sure, you could have 1 million followers on Instagram, or you could adopt one child. You tell me which one makes the greater sum total impact. And it's not necessary that it's either or, and it's not about competing and comparing. What it is, though, is about waking up to the idea that there's more than just width. There's more than just reach that factors in to impact. There is depth. And you can be somebody's favorite. You can save somebody who is hurting. You can change the trajectory of somebody's life in a moment because there is somebody out there right now who is begging and pleading and searching and possibly on their very hands and knees praying for answers to questions that you know like the back of your hand because you've already walked down the path. You've solved it 1,000 times, right? Somewhere there is some business owner who has an amazing product and a great funnel and really tight systems, and they don't have enough audience. And they go, man, if I had 100 affiliates show up, this thing would light up and I would have the money to donate or to give jobs or to take my kids on vacation or to pay for somebody to go to school or to fund a nonprofit. But I need somebody who can bring me more traffic to the thing I've spent my life building. And you go, yeah, in that way, Matt McWilliams matters to that person. But in reality, Matt McWilliams matters to all of the people that are touched by that nonprofit or by that school or by that one life that has changed. And so we make a huge mistake when we isolate our impact only to our direct encounters with other people. And we discount the magnitude and the gravitas of how our impact happens through other people. And so you really just need to be reminded that this is not about you. Your personal brand is not about you. It's about the people that you can help and how can you serve. And as you do that, you create impact, you create profit, and you create purpose for yourself and for everyone around you. So don't just be focused on the width of your reach, be focused on the depth of your impact.
So good, dude. Oh man. You said a word there. You said the traffic thing. That was one of the words. It's just like, if we sum up traffic, you got a message, you got a product even, you got an idea. You just you need eyeballs. And that's that word. The idea, if anybody doesn't believe what Rory said about the frequency thing, like, ooh, that's kind of woo-woo. And I don't know if I believe that. There's a book. We've all experienced this. There's a book that so many people have said, oh my gosh, this book has changed my life. It's called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Read the book 3 times. I don't get it. It had no impact. Great story. Love the story. No impact on me whatsoever. And you know what? There are books that have transformed my life that other people have read and they went, I don't get it. How is that possible? Because that author, that story didn't resonate with them, but it really resonated with me and vice versa. And the point is, Paulo, he's not saying anything different in that book. Basically, chase your passions, right? He's not saying anything in that book that hasn't been said by other people. But for some people, that story by that author, it clicked with them. E.T., he's not saying anything different than Jim Rohn said, really, or than Tony Robbins says. But you know what? To a certain segment of the population, me included, and I'm a 43-year-old white dude from Indiana, it clicks. Certainly, it's going to click more than Jim Rohn in the inner city of Chicago. It's different. And like you said, Mel Robbins, she's a woman. If you don't know who Mel Robbins is, you might have thought that was just another dude. But, no, she is going to click with a certain percentage of the population that Tony Robbins just can't. Some people can't get past Tony Robbins' voice, can't get past the fact that he's 6'7", giant white guy. Like it's not going to resonate with them. But your voice can. And I think that is so important. I love that you said that. And I love that frequency analogy. All right, as we finish up, one last thing here, Rory. Aside of going to freebrandcall.com/TAG, that's the first step. Mm-hmm. All right. In the interim, maybe they can't schedule that call for a couple of weeks because they got something coming up. And maybe they need to be thinking right now, okay, what is that very first step I need to be doing in my head? What is it? Like, what is the first step toward getting on the right path with this? Figuring out your uniqueness. You've talked about some stuff. I'm thinking like, hey, let's dial it down and give them the first 3-minute step for them to do.
Sure. Well, Simon Sinek says start with why. And I love Simon Sinek. He's one of my favorite writers. And I love that book and I love that concept. I will tell you that when we work with personal brands, we don't work with companies. We only work exclusively with personal brands. With personal brands, what we have found is that you actually don't need to start with why. You need to start with who. For most of us, our why is a who. For most of us, the reason why we work so hard is because we want to take care of our family, or we want to make our parents proud, or we want to give to an organization, or something like that. For most of us, our why is a who. The sooner you get clear on the who, the sooner you'll be clear on the why, and the sooner you will be clear on the what, as in the what to do. And so I would just really encourage you to sit and process and go, who have I earned the right to serve? What audience can I help in the deepest way? What type of person, not just can I help, can I change their freaking life? And what most people do is they make the business decisions by like, how can I make the most money? And I think instead of saying, how can I make the most money? You should be saying, what audience can I serve in the deepest way? Because the most powerful form of marketing that there is a changed life, a transformed life, right? The reason why Brand Builders Group is exploding is because we just so happen to have a lot of clients who have big reach, but those clients would not just automatically broadcast us to the world. They're having an experience that they're going, I need to tell you what I went through. I need you to know what I have just encountered. And that happens because we're not trying to be all things to all people. We do this one really, really specific thing. We help people become more well-known. We help them find their uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others, as Larry said. So you got to figure out who can you serve? And I would really focus in on the who, because another thing that people will do is they'll say, what's my purpose? what's my purpose? Like, what's my next big idea? And I think a better question to ask is, who can I serve? How can I help? Where can I be of value? If you ask that question, like, your purpose will show up as a byproduct. You're never irrelevant when you're living in service, right? Our lives have meaning in the context of how we interact with other people. But when I sit only in isolation and say, what is my purpose? How can I make the most money? Then it's like I am severing the relationship and the sort of symbiotic relationship of me in the world around me. But when I open up and I sort of expand my mind in that conversation to go, which people are out there in the world that I can help the most? Now, all of a sudden, my life has meaning because I have value to other people. And what's amazing is that we know that your highest value to others is to be your highest self. We know that. We know that your example matters, that when you set a good example, you light other people up. But we actually know that your highest self comes from being your highest value to others. And when you figure out what is my highest value to others, then you become your highest self. And as you become your highest self, then you are your highest value to others. So that is the way to start that cycle. And I would just really, really focus in on the who.
And guys, if you didn't figure it out, that's why Rory was the number 2 public speaker in the world about 16 years ago.
Number 2.
More tweetables. Like I wrote a note, and we normally don't do this because we don't have that many. But I'm like, I need my team to go through this episode, and just like every 45 seconds, there's a soundbite from you, man. I mean, we're going to have like 20 quotes just from this episode that alone, like by themselves, are so powerful. And that's a skill. I want to commend you for that. That's a skill that takes practice and years of development and leaves a great impact. So, Roy, thank you so much. Again, guys, freebrandcall.com/TAG. I already know many people personally that I'm going to send there because they are asking me the questions that you covered in this episode. That's not my thing. Like, that's not my thing. They need you. And
right. So, we don't do what you do. You don't do what we do. Other people don't do. We all have superpowers. And as we tap into it, we make the whole world around us a better place.
Another tweetable. Thank you. Man, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. All the best.
So I hope you got as much out of that interview with Rory as I did doing it. I mean, I took notes. I got some ideas, but I would love to hear from you what your biggest takeaway is from this conversation with Rory today. What are you going to do to build your personal brand or build it bigger? Shoot me a text at 260-217-4619. 260-217-4619. I would love to hear from you. What is your biggest takeaway? Then make sure to check out in the show notes. I've got a link to book your free brand call with Rory's team, freebrandcall.com/TAG for the affiliate guy. Go check that out. And lastly, make sure you hit subscribe because in the next episode, I'm going to talk about how to negotiate affiliate deals that benefit everyone. So how do we negotiate those affiliate deals that are not only good for you, the affiliate, or good for you, the affiliate manager, but they're good for the other people too. They're win-win. How do we do that? Well, that's what the next episode is all about. So make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you then. Thank you so much for listening today. Remember to check out all of our deep dives into affiliate marketing at theaffiliateguy.tv. And if you have a question, ask it at asktheaffiliateguy.com. Who knows? Maybe you even be featured on an upcoming episode. And lastly, if you haven't yet, make sure to leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this episode. See you soon.